What changed yesterday afternoon for this market?
So I think, and look, we, by the way, said those relationships we've seen all year between Trump and betting markets and the market, those could change, right? So we're in a little bit of a discovery process this week. Look, I think we got maybe a little bit more certainty yesterday. We looked at the futures reaction last night. It was initially very muted. It's moving a little bit more right now. But really, investors have had a couple of weeks to be thinking about this, to be contemplating this. And I think at this point in time, right, we've seen a number of curveballs, a number of twists and turns. We just got another one. And so for me, what really changed is that this race is still an open question.
So let's sit on small caps and talk about how to trade them. You had cautioned before this rally not to be too underweight small caps. There's three pillars to it. It's earnings, we hope they improve. It's rates, people think they're going to drop. And it's Trump. People think it's going to be a small cap presidency. Let's just reflect on the moves we've seen in the last couple of weeks. How much was it about one versus the other, or was it all of the above?
So I'm not going to sit here and say the election didn't have some sort of role, right? Because if you go back historically, 2016, 2017, 2018, if you look at CFTC futures data, there were three big Trump trades. One was on him getting elected and excitement over the economy. One was over corporate tax reform, and one was over the trade war. So there's certainly precedents. And we did hear investors talk about that, especially non-U.S. investors earlier in the year. That being said, over the past week or so, what I think has really been driving the small caps in my conversation, it's been really more about the Fed. It's been more about inflation. Because I think, when we talk to investors about the Trump agenda, there have been concerns that it could be inflationary, that it could keep interest rates elevated, a bit higher, even if you get the cuts. Are we in a higher for longer environment? Those are things that kind of dampen enthusiasm for the small cap trade. So has it mattered? Yes. Was it the whole enchilada? No.
So basically, is the Trump trade essentially, or has it been sort of a fiction? And has it been much more tied to economic data that's supportive of a Fed rate cut and some other factors that kind of underpin some of the weakness that we've seen even in big tech?
So I would venture to say that in financials, there's probably been a little bit more of a Trump bid, because that's been the one sector all year I've been hearing investors say, if you want to buy something on a Trump win, it makes sense from a regulatory perspective, right? But if you think about energy, I think it's just been a little bit more complicated. And that's the one I was hearing investors question more last week, is if it really made sense on a Trump 2.0 trade this time around.